played 150 games of Age of Empires 4 as an RTS novice. While I was discovering the ins and outs of real-time strategy, I learned about resource allocation. Well, I need more of a military, so maybe I'll stop producing villagers and take that meat and use it on spearmen. And about build orders. This, I'm not quite understand. Oh. This isn't an English build. I had fun despite the massive learning curve and some hiccups along the way. I have over 100 hours in this game and I just built a lumber mill over my gold deposit. And I've come to appreciate RTSs in a way that I didn't previously. Want to see what else I learned? And see how far 150 games of multiplayer 2v2s, 3v3s, and 4v4s will get you? Let's get into it.
Let's go!
So what exactly is an RTS? RTS stands for real-time strategy, meaning that once the game starts, everyone is doing everything at the same time live, with essentially no pausing and no breaks. Once you start the game, you're on that roller coaster until you either win or lose. Most real-time strategy games have you produce, upgrade, and command both military and economic units around the map using your mouse. When you begin most RTSs, you start with a home base, which in AOE4 is referred to as a town center. This home base can produce economic units, of which, in AOE4's case, these are called villagers. You start with a few villagers, but you always want to be producing more. These economic units are used to gather various resources on the map. In Age's case, there are 4 resources. There is food, which is gathered from either farms or hunted animals and is largely used to produce both economic and military units. Wood, which is gathered from trees and is largely used to construct buildings. Gold, which comes from gold veins, which is often used to purchase either military or economic upgrades. And lastly, stone, which is gathered from stone deposits and is used to make either stone walls or additional town centers. Villagers can fight, but they're very weak, and they're used exclusively to gather resources and build buildings. One of the main goals of an RTS is to make sure that your economic units can keep producing uninterrupted by the enemy, while making sure to harass the enemy's economic units so that there's a resource disadvantage. If you do find that your villagers are under attack, they can take shelter in a town center. However, there's only so much space in a town center, so not all of your villagers are going to be able to be stored inside of it. Who you want to leave the fighting to are military units. Military units are designed for fighting and are usually built at their respective buildings. The barracks generally produces spearmen, the archery range produces archers, and the stable often produces horses. Producing new units requires certain resources, and each unit usually needs 2 different resources at varying amounts. Producing new units also requires a certain amount of time from when you press the button to produce the unit and when it actually comes out of its production building. Speaking of archers, horses, and spearmen, these 3 unit types make up an important part of Age of Empires as well as other RTS's combat mechanics, which is known as the weapon triangle, or the unit triangle in this case. Horses are strong against archers but are weak against spears. Spears are strong against horses but are weak against archers. And archers are strong against spearmen but are weak to horses. There are additional units in Age of Empires 4 that kind of buck this trend, but for most intents and purposes, these are the units that you'll be playing with and that are good against each other. If you want more units on the field, you need to build more production building. But just be aware that resource allocation is crucial in this game. Resources spent on building another barracks could have been spent somewhere else, and this is important to keep in mind. However, you don't want to endlessly build production buildings because you can't endlessly build units. This is due to population cap, which is a little house in the bottom left there. Within Age of Empires, each unit on the screen costs anywhere from 1 to sometimes 3 population. Generally, the higher the population, the stronger the unit. For example, a villager costs 1 population, but a trebuchet costs 2. In order to increase your population cap, you need to build population buildings, usually called houses. You can also build more town centers/bases, but those cost a lot more resources. The last mechanic I want to talk about is pretty straightforward, and those are upgrades. Upgrades generally cost gold, but can also cost some of the other resources. Most upgrades that benefit your military are produced at the military unit's respective building. Generally, these upgrades make a single unit type better and not the army as a whole. Though upgrades at the armory/blacksmith are different. These upgrades affect your entire army's attack and armor. These upgrades are really important, so you don't want to forget them. You can also research/produce upgrades for your villagers/economic units. These upgrades are massive, as they generally allow your economic units to gather more resources faster. These upgrades are usually produced at wherever the economic unit drops off their prospective resource. However, most of these villager upgrades and non-blacksmith upgrades, and the blacksmith itself, are locked behind the age system, which is what we're going to talk about next. Let's go! A staple of the Age of Empires series is the Age Up system. The Age Up system allows players to build one of two specific buildings, referred to as landmarks, at the cost of a lot of food and gold to go from the current age to the next age. There are a total of 4 Age Ups within a match. The game starts in the Dark Age, then you progress to the Feudal Age, then the Castle Age, and then lastly the Imperial Age. Aging up unlocks buildings, upgrades, and generally unlocks each civilization's unique military units, so you generally want to age up as fast as possible. This is especially true at the beginning of the game with the Dark Age. There's very little you can do in the Dark Age, so most games start with each player trying to get out of the Dark Age as fast as possible. On top of this, which landmark you build can also really determine what kind of game you're trying to play, as each landmark has specific bonuses and buffs. For example, if you want to play a cavalry-heavy game as French, then you probably want to build the School of Cavalry, rather than the Chamber of Commerce. This being said, not all age ups are equal, as many games end before you can get to the Imperial Age, and sometimes even the Castle Age. The timing of your age up also matters a lot. If your opponent progresses to Age 3/the Castle Age as fast as possible, it means that their units will be stronger, however they have a lot less resources available now. If you're deciding to stay in the Feudal Age longer, you can use this opportunity to try and counterattack before their units get stronger than yours by just using sheer numbers. Different empires peak at different ages. The French are quite strong in the Feudal Age, while the Greeks are much more considered a Castle Age empire. Speaking of the Greeks prioritize farming and building these big box structures called cisterns. You can connect cisterns up to a maximum of 5 through aqueducts. Each cistern that is connected to another cistern through aqueducts gives additional bonuses to the villagers and buildings that surround it. Cistern placement is pretty important, but generally, as long as you have reliable stone, you're eventually going to get to about 5 cisterns anyways. So go wild. The Greeks also have unique farms referred to as olive groves. These olive groves produce both food and the Byzantines' unique resource referred to as olive oil. Olive oil can then be used at one of the Byzantines' unique buildings called the Mercenary House to then recruit special units from other civilizations. This mechanic is actually really interesting and really cool. I think in 1v1s it's really good, but I also really liked it in multiplayer, as you can choose different mercenary sets to then get unique units from different civilizations to suit any style of game you're trying to play at the current moment. The Byzantines also have unique spearmen, and they have unique knights referred to as cataphracts. Cataphracts are great, but they come in Age 3 and are really expensive. However, the spearmen are really good, and I built them all the time. My game plan with the Byzantines was pretty similar to my game plan with the English. One of my friends that I played with pretty reliably plays the French, and so he goes heavy on the cavalry. In order to help with this knight spam, I built both spearmen and longbowmen. I think I kind of enjoyed playing the Byzantines a bit more than playing the English, as while they're a bit harder, their unique spearmen are really good, and you can recruit English longbowmen anyways as the Byzantines, which is usually what I ended up doing. Speaking of the English prioritize themselves on being defensive and outraging their opponents. As previously stated, the longbowman, which you can build in the Second Age/Feudal Age, shoots farther than regular archers and is also cheaper to build than regular archers. Being able to outrange opponents this early in the game is huge, as you can make quick work of spearmen. This helped out a lot in multiplayer games, as I could escort my friend's French knights so he could attack the enemy's economic units, while I was sitting back and taking out the spearmen that were sent out to attack the horses. Another unique mechanic of the English is that their farms are able to produce faster than other civilizations' farms if they're built around a windmill. This is really nice as farms are a renewable source of food and mills can be placed strategically so they're easily defensible. For most of the game, gathering meat from animals that are hunted is faster than farming, at least until some upgrades come through. However, with the English, farming requires less upgrades to be as competitive, if not better, than gathering meat. More farms mean more units and so on and so forth. There's a lot more to go into in the nuance for both the English and the Greeks, but one of the coolest parts of Age of Empires 4 is just how many civilizations there are to choose from. There are 17 total civilizations as to the date of this recording that you can choose from, with most civilizations playing differently from one another. Hi, this is me in post. Turns out there's actually 18, I just can't count. I'm probably going to call up my university and get my degrees back, but anyways, back to the video. Picking a civilization and learning what they're good at and not so good at is a great way to keep the game fresh, while also improving your knowledge. I exclusively played the English and the Byzantines, so I'm eager to try out the other civilizations to see what they're all about. Let's go! So after playing 150 games of Age of Empires 4, did I enjoy myself? Kind of? Team Age of Empires is kind of a meme, and is certainly not the usual way people play the game, and this was only compounded by the fact that I was playing against people that were way above my level. My friends are much better than me at the game and have much higher ranks, which means the opponents we were playing against were also higher ranked. So there was a lot of losing, like a lot of losing. Oh, I missed! That wasn't super fun. Also, RTS games are stimulating, but almost too stimulating. They're overwhelming. The mental flowchart that you have to have and then keep rechecking is really long. And if you don't know what I mean, this is what I mean. Okay, it's 6 minutes, and I'm at age 2. Make sure I have a military. Alright, what does my friend want to do here? Should I go for a battering ram rush?
She never loved you.
Build a villager, build a village. This certainly isn't a game you play if you just want to turn off your brain. And that in itself isn't a bad thing, but after 100 plus hours, I still often feel like I don't know what I'm doing. This is my first RTS, so that's probably to be expected. However, it's just... Oh, it's frustrating. I want to know how to play the game. I want to be good at it. If I really wanted to improve, I would just need to play more, specifically play some 1v1s. That would help my speed most likely and my accuracy with my build order. But being unable to pause, being unable to sit down and think about what I'm doing, I'm not really sure that's for me. Playing with my friends was really fun though, in a very unique style of game. Our communication probably wasn't the best, and I really feel like we're all just playing separate 1v1s instead of playing as a team, but that comes with time. And those comeback wins, it almost makes it all worth it. Being able to play a game with your friends cooperatively where you get that just insane pulling victory from the jaws of defeat type of win. Oh, it's just so hype. I just want to keep playing. So the final verdict is, I'm not really sure I like RTS games, but I am glad that the first one I learned was Age of Empires 4. Definitely would be at least a 4 out of 5. Would recommend. Congratulations, you've reached the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. I was trying something new with this video, which is just putting more gameplay footage and letting the game kind of speak for itself. I kind of liked it. I think it made the flow a bit better, but please let me know in the comments section below if you liked it, disliked it, or didn't even really notice. Other than that, I think I'm going to try to do some different stuff with the next video. I might do a review, I might release a couple of shorts. I'm not entirely sure. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.